And most importantly, enjoy your time. Our hope is that you leave feeling inspired and motivated by the stories you hear today and the interactions you have during this session. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Mikki Hernandez, the Tomorrow's Leaders co-chair in Los Angeles as a part of the Southern California chapter, Brittany Householder with the Western Carolinas chapter, Laurent Quenaud, Senior Director, my screen went away, Senior Director of Donor and Volunteer Relations at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Okay. So panelists, if we could kick this off with all of you sharing a little bit more about yourselves and how and why you got involved with the foundation, as well as your experiences in a volunteer capacity. Mikki, if we could start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Frankie. Hey, everybody. My name is Mikki Hernandez, and I am based in LA. I'm the co-chair of our Tomorrow's Leaders chapter here. We recently kind of became like the Southern California chapter in combination with Orange County. And I got involved in the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in college. I went to UCLA. I studied communications there. And I was friends with a couple of sisters who have CF, and so was in a sorority with them and lived in a house with them. So started to kind of, see the behind the scenes of what it was like to live with CF and learned a lot. And so after college, one of my good friends from the sorority had an opportunity to start a new Tomorrow's Leaders chapter, and she invited me to join. So I've been involved since 2015, which seems like a very long time ago. And yeah, I've kind of had an array of experiences from just being, kind of like a remote volunteer to being hands-on to now being co-chair. So thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Brittany, if I could pass it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Super excited to be here with you guys. I love talking to potential new volunteers. So we're really excited to share our experience with you all tonight. So by day, I'm a consultant. And everyone always tells me that they think I work for the foundation because that's how much I do in a volunteer capacity as well outside of work. But the way that I got my start is similar to Mikki. I have a sorority sister with cystic fibrosis. We didn't actually meet until after college, funny enough. But she and I connected, became really fast friends. And again, I got to see, kind of the behind the scenes of what her life is like and some of the challenges that she and her family face. And just obviously wanted to support her and be alongside her in this journey. And then, I kind of dipped my toe in the water at first, just participating in an event that the foundation hosts nationally called Great Strides, excuse me. So I just started supporting her and her fundraising efforts, and then, really just hit the ground running after that. Participated in two of my chapters finest events, which are geared towards young professionals. The first one's called Standout. That one's more like networking and business related. And then the second one is called Guys and Dolls. It's a live auction gala. We like to brand it as kind of adult prom. It's really, really fun. People get very into it. But I did that event, and then I chaired that event for 5 years. And then during that same time, got involved in advocacy on accident. Just happened to just say, "Hey, I heard you talking about advocacy at one of the chapter meetings, and you said you guys were looking for help. So what can I do?" And next thing I know, I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, our state capital, meeting with elected officials at our first state advocacy day. And then I've since become a congressional leadership captain in my congressional district, where I maintain a relationship with my congresswoman and keep her apprised on all things having to do with the CF Foundation. I attend volunteer leadership conference every year. I've done our national advocacy event, March on the Hill, which is super exciting. Also part of the Tomorrow's Leaders Council. I'm one of the co-chairs in my chapter, the Western Carolinas chapter right outside of Charlotte. And I was also nominated to the National Leadership Council about 2 years ago for the Advocacy and Special Events Committee. So that's a little bit about me and my involvement. And yeah, again, super excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you, Brittany. Laurent, I'll pass it to you.
Well, thank you. Gosh, it's tough to follow Brittany and Mikki there, but I'll do my best. So, hi everybody. My name is Laurent Quenaud. I'm as Frankie said, the senior director for donor and volunteer relations at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I am the only one on this panel who actually works for the foundation. Although I know you three do so much to support the foundation, and we couldn't do without you. So, as I said, I've been at the foundation for 10 years. I started in the San Diego chapter as a fundraiser development director. By the way, I saw Ashton Ferguson in here. I've known Ashton for a long time. He was a San Diego person. So, hey, Ashton, tell your family I said hello. So I spent a few years in the San Diego chapter as a fundraiser development director for them, and then had the opportunity to become an executive director to run my own chapter. And that move took me to Omaha, Nebraska. So maybe my one piece of career advice is sometimes you got to move for the job. I did that. I moved to Omaha and ran that chapter for a few years, and then took on the role that I'm in now. So I work for headquarters, but work from home. This is my office where I sit all day. My role now is actually a number of things that have been mentioned. So my team works on the Tomorrow's Leaders program and the Tomorrow's Leaders College program. My team works on the Grampians program. We do the VLC event, Volunteer Leadership Conference that Brittany mentioned. We work on the Leadership Council. So we really look for ways for volunteers to find where they fit in this organization. And that's a really important part of volunteering, is finding what excites you, what you want to do, how you can support. So it is an important part of a volunteer's journey to find their place. And we work really hard at the CF Foundation, and my team, all of us do, but my team in particular really focuses on finding those great roles for great volunteers that really excite people. Volunteers who like what they're doing and enjoy the work we've given them. They stay around a long time. So that is something that there you go. So that is a little bit about me. And I think, Frankie, we have our other panelists has jumped on too. So
Yes, Mac Tisdale is here. So I'll pass it to you to do your introduction, and as well as just touch on your volunteer experiences and how you got involved with the foundation.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, by the way. I just, I don't know, I couldn't get connected. Anyway, you guys get it. And by the way, anytime we get the, you're on mute, that's $1 to the cause, right? So, hey, I've got a younger brother that fights this thing. And I'm 50, he's 58, he's 48, and he's 6 years surviving a double lung transplant. And we couldn't have existed without this cause, this entire foundation. And so when I was 27, I guess 27, 28, I reached out to our local executive director and said, hey, how do I get involved? And that's how I'm here, by the way. And boy, it's so easy. And we're going to talk more about this. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you, panelists. So we'll get started with a little Q&A, and then we can take fire round questions from the audience. So like I said before, feel free to enter your questions using the Q&A feature as we go. Since our audience is college students and finding and securing a job is top on their mind already, or at least will be in the next few years, I would like to start us off by asking the panel, what do you see as the greatest benefit of volunteering, or give an example of how being philanthropic has helped further your career?
I'll jump in. Hey, when you're involved in cystic fibrosis, it's actually a winning foundation. It's a winning organization. So if you're right at college and you know people, get involved with organizations, events, and different organizations. Good gravy. We actually can say that 90% of our patients have a way home right now, right? So we're waiting for the next 10%. We actually have a success story. And by the way, 90% of our fundraising money goes to the cause, which is why we actually are recognized by all kinds of different organizations. We're so efficient, it's ridiculous. So anyway, thanks.
Yeah, I can jump in here as well. I've definitely interviewed a handful of times over the almost 10 years that I've been involved with the foundation, and a few more than that I've been out of college. But as I've gotten more and more involved, it's absolutely helped me stand out among other applicants. I can recall, very specific interviews where I've been asked to talk about, what do you do outside of work? What's something that you're passionate about? And being able to talk about my specific experience with the CF Foundation, and then, you know, listening to what I've done and, the things I do. And as Mac mentioned, the fact that we are such a well-regarded organization among other patient-focused groups, it's something that really helps you stand out and set you apart among other applicants. And it's a great way to show that, you are, you have a wide breadth to you. Like, you're not just about work. You're a passionate person, you're a caring person, you like to do things in your community. So it's really great for that as well.
And I have a bit of a different kind of career trajectory. So I'm an actor and I do a lot of voiceover and on camera auditioning for TV and film. And so for me, I don't have traditional kind of like interviews for jobs, but I think what it's really offered me is a sense of community. I'm by myself a lot at home. And so just being a part of the volunteer network, it's provided me with friends both in my industry and also outside that I've just been able to connect with over the years. I've been involved since 2015 and I'm still like lifelong friends with a lot of these people. And we get to have a lot of different, unique experiences, whether it's planning a comedy show that's our biggest fundraiser of the year, doing a happy hour, or having like a sports related fundraiser, or just connecting with different people from different walks of life. Like as an actor, I love that. Like I love studying people, and it provides empathy, just learning about the cystic fibrosis community. And for me, it's just really enriched my life and my relationships. And with career stuff, yeah, I meet a lot of people, go to different premiere events, and it's a great way to kind of reach out to people I might want to connect with for sponsorships or to attend our events. And it isn't as like, ooh, like do something for me. It's helping a good cause, and it really kind of bridges that gap between networking and volunteering and kind of bringing everyone together.
Thank you all for that information and those examples. Even as a current college student, I remember a couple of years ago, I was asked about my advocacy work with the foundation in literally every single interview I attended while applying to schools. So it definitely helped me stand out, and I can see how these experiences can help you stand out in job interviews too. Next, I wanted to talk about unique volunteer roles. For example, my brother's role in my chapter's events is always something surrounding the entertainment. He's a gifted musician, so that's how he contributes as a volunteer. Can anyone else touch on volunteer roles that maybe aren't typical?
Yeah, I've got one. So one of my best friends, who's also, been a very, very long-standing volunteer with the foundation. She is a retail professional. That's what she's always done for as long as I've known her. And making the space look pretty and presentable is something that she has always been really, really good at, and something that obviously she enjoys doing by working in retail. So for our Guys and Dolls event that I mentioned earlier, a very large component of that event is we have like this massive silent auction the night of that we all have worked to get items for. And every year without fail, she's the person that the local chapter reaches out to and says, hey, can you please come the morning of the event and like help us make this look pretty? So that way when our guests walk in tonight, it's eye-catching, and people want to go up and see what all of these things are. And I mean, she brings these little like risers and all these like pretty tablecloths and everything, and she just makes it look fabulous. And that's a really easy way that she can use her skills and what she's good at to contribute in a meaningful way.
Like to add on to that thought, Brittany, I first of all love when someone can come in and do that. That is not one of my skills, and to have somebody come into your event and make it look like you wanted to, that is important. And I think it emphasizes there are so many ways that volunteers can get involved. I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of volunteers in my career, some of whom want to be on the phone and call people, some of whom will want to decorate, or some will want to set up your tents, or whatever it is they want to do. But people, if you have a desire to help, we will find the role for you. And you might be surprised at what is helpful. So this is a story about me that isn't exactly a volunteer, because I was working at the foundation at the time, but early in my career at CFF, we were doing a Great Strides walk, like Brittany mentioned, and our entertainment didn't show up. And somebody on my team knew that I know how to make balloon animals, not super well, but I know how to make balloon animals. And I had my stuff in my car that day, and they said, hey, instead of whatever we had you assigned to do, you need to go and make balloon animals for the 150 kids that are here. And while my fingers were in a lot of pain at the end of it, it was such a cool experience. So, the other thing I would say is look for interesting opportunities. Sometimes you would be surprised at what we can use and how we can use you. So
Yeah, I think in terms of like being surprised of what you kind of already naturally might be doing, I'm guessing most of you are active on social media, maybe not, but that's a great way to volunteer if you're just starting to dip your toes in, whether it's making graphics and making posts for, different chapters, or doing on day like TikToks or videos, video editing. You can really get creative, which I think is kind of cool about volunteering. And whether it's a skill that you're already good at, or maybe it's a skill that you want to get better at, like this is a great opportunity for you to brush up on your social media skills, graphic design, video editing. If you're a photographer, like at every event, we always have, like a photographer with like a nice camera who takes pictures of the event. So maybe that's a hobby that, you might be studying something else, but you want to like brush up a hobby or start something new. Like that's a great way to kind of bring new skills to the table, or use skills that you already have, as a way to volunteer. And it's fun. Yeah, it's like social media for good.
Thank you guys for highlighting just a few of the many ways someone can use their talents to get involved with the foundation. I believe a common question from people who are trying to get involved or trying to volunteer with us for the first time is, what if I don't have a direct or a blood connection to CF? Can I still be involved, or how does someone like me become a champion for the cause?
I can jump in on this one first, although the other panels will have some ideas as well. But the cystic fibrosis population is not a huge number of people. I think we're about 36,000, 40,000 in the United States, 70, 80,000 worldwide. It's not a huge number of people. We could not have built this foundation. It would not have been possible without people who do not have that direct blood, or we often say the direct DNA connection to people with CF. We need all kinds of volunteers. And I can tell you that if you ever volunteer, the chapter might ask you, the staff might ask you, what is your connection to CF? They will be perfectly happy and even excited if you say to them, I don't have one, or it's a friend, or it's whoever it is. We love to work with people, whatever their motivation is, however they want to work with us. And there's no limit to what someone who does not have a direct DNA connection can do at this organization. There are very important leaders and people who have been in this organization for a very long time, who've meant a lot to this organization, who don't have that direct DNA connection. And in fact, the event that we mentioned earlier, the Volunteer Leadership Conference, we give an annual award to someone who does not have that direct DNA connection, to celebrate that there are so many people who care about this disease and care about people who have it. So it is absolutely not required to have a connection, a DNA connection. We want everybody who wants to help. There are so many ways to get involved, and there's no limit to how high you can rise in this organization, no matter what your connection is.
Thank you for explaining that, because I feel like that's definitely a lot of people's first question. And I think another thing everyone wonders when they start to consider how they can help or contribute, they think first about all of the events that the foundation puts on, or fundraising events that other volunteers are hosting. So another common concern is event planning. So what if I don't have experience planning events? Where do I start, or how do I come up with a good idea?
So I can take this one first. So first, I would say that event planning or even fundraising in general is not a requirement to be a volunteer. As you heard all of us, talk about just a second ago, there are so many ways that you can get involved and support the foundation that do not require ever raising a dime. Simply being able to show your support, offer your skills, talk on the phone to people, like Laurent said, some people, are really shy when it comes to asking people for money, even if it is for a great cause. And so that's absolutely not a requirement. But if that is something that, you're interested in and you want to try out, one thing that we have always told our like guys and dolls participants, when it comes to their fundraising, because that is a component of them participating in the event. They help sell tickets for the event and then just do general fundraising. But look at things that you and your friends or family already like to do. A large part of our fundraising season that we call happens over the holidays. And so we're always telling people and challenging them to say, hey, does your family do like a poker tournament over the holidays? Do you guys play Monopoly and get really into it? Like, find a way to turn that into a fundraiser. Do you and your friends really love breweries? Well, then set up like an informal, brewery crawl, bar crawl, something, and turn it into a fundraiser. One of our most successful they call them passion fundraisers, which is, somebody creating their own fundraiser outside of something that the foundation hosts themselves. But one of our most successful fundraising during one of my Guys and Dolls seasons was somebody that created a like a tacky Christmas sweater bar crawl, and they raised like $1,000 by just getting people to put on ugly Christmas sweaters and like gallivant about the city. So there's absolutely ways to do it that don't require a lot of effort or planning, but just don't feel like you have to go like balls to the wall and plan like a golf tournament your first time. Like start small, figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think it's important to remind yourself when you are starting out, the fact that you're just doing it is a win. It doesn't have to be this big production right away. With our Get Salty comedy show, that's really run by one of our volunteers who's such a rock star, Rochelle Meese. And she just had an idea. She's a stand-up comedian and she like has experience hosting open mic nights. And so she wanted to plan a comedy show. So what did she do? She reached out to her existing network, her friends, asked for favors, and then, those friends know bigger names. And then eventually we were able to get like, these major headliners, like Eliza Schlesinger is one of our like repetitive comedians who comes, and she actually has a connection to CF that we would never have known. It's just like by putting yourself out there and making the event happen, word of mouth. And over the years, it's turned into such a fun event that I think people even forget, like, oh yeah, we are fundraising. It's getting people together. It's a night out. I think especially post COVID, I think people are excited to kind of have like group community experiences in person again. And so whether it's a comedy night or if you're super into music, have, like a concert or whatever your interests are, I think you're more likely to really invest a lot of time and energy and have fun if it's something that you're already interested in. And also, get some friends involved. Even if your friends don't want to be, an ongoing volunteer, give them a job for that day. So we would have friends come in and just be the ones to check people in. We would have friends who would run the auction. Or maybe if you're really good at connecting with businesses, or if you want to build relationships with companies and businesses as part of your own networking, getting sponsorships for auctions is such a great way to do that. If you're interested in PR and publicity, reaching out to different local news outlets, getting people to write a blurb or do a post. There are all these creative ways that you can kind of insert yourself or ask friends to help out that if you like kind of delegate, it's not as hard at the end of the day because it's a bunch of friends planning a party essentially. So I think, yeah, start small, delegate, and get creative. And over time, it can become something really special.
I love those examples, Mikki, Brittany, and I think that what you really talked about is that there are that it is about what you are interested in, what your passion is, what do you want to do. That is not everything we do at this organization is about fundraising, although it is very important. So look for your passion, look for what sounds good to you. As was mentioned, look at what you already do. There are a lot of ways to get involved. There are a lot of ways to plan events and work with other people. You know, the sky's the limit. And I will say your local chapter is more than happy to talk about this with you. I think we'd all say that part of how we make these events happen is we have conversations with our local chapter. We work with them. We talk about what they can do to support you, and they're going to at least give you ideas, and they'll tell you some things they've experienced. So really lean on your local chapter. If you have an idea, share it with them. They can help you figure it out.
Yeah, those are all really good points. Like I mentioned before, my involvement with the foundation has nothing to do with event planning. It's mainly surrounding advocacy. So it started with just me sharing my brother's story with classmates and reaching out to my chapter, like Laurent was saying, turned into a passion for advocacy, and then provided me with leadership positions at my school and at my chapter. So I'd like to now dig into some of your individual volunteer projects a little bit more. Mac, as a board member for your chapter, can you tell us more about how you ended up in this leadership position?
Well, good Lord, I grew up with a brother that I was told that he may live to be 13, and so I showed up at Josie Schaefer's door at 27 and said, "Hey, and she said, "Hey, join the board." So precious history. So thanks. Not really prepared to answer the question, but look, my brother is still 48 years old, double lung cancer. He's awesome. My relationship with the local chapter is awesome because we actually completely bond with the successes. So what else do I need to say? So thank you.
Thank you. Brittany and Mikki, you both mentioned your involvement with Tomorrow's Leaders and advocacy at your local chapter. So how does someone get involved, and what are some of the benefits of joining a networking group?
I guess I can go first. So with advocacy, like I mentioned before, it was like kind of an accident. And then I just got like tossed into the deep end of the pool, like not in a way that was like, oh, just figure it out. But I didn't really understand at the time what I was exactly getting myself into. But now that I'm like so happy that I did. At one of our chapter's annual meetings, our advocacy chair at the time was up, talking about, advocacy efforts, within the chapter and nationally, and, that they were looking for volunteers to, help get a little more involved in our chapter's advocacy efforts. And, that was kind of at the period in time when I was like very much like drinking the Kool-Aid, if you will, and was like, I want to do more. I want to get so involved. I want to do all these things. And so I just approached him after the meeting and I said, hey, it sounded like you guys needed some help with some advocacy stuff. Like, what can I do? And he said, oh yeah, like I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to give you all this information. And, next thing I knew, I was getting invited to travel to our state capitol and meet with our elected officials and advocate for, our friends and loved ones with cystic fibrosis. I had not a clue what that was like before. That was my very first time ever doing anything like that. But like you said, it was really just about sharing your story. And so I got to speak and share stories on behalf of, friends of mine and other local families that I have become close with over the years, and tell them this is what it's like for their family. This is what it's like for this person, this young child with cystic fibrosis, this adult, and how they manage their treatments, and really be able to tell them, because they have this disease, it has such a profound impact on their life, and they need help from, our government and our healthcare system to be able to make sure that they have access to things that they need, like healthcare, and not only that they have access to it, but that it's affordable, those types of things. And I absolutely fell in love with that experience. And so I attended the state advocacy day again, a second time the following year. And right around that time, the second time I went, is that they were piloting in the state of North Carolina the congressional captains program. And so they asked me, hey, would you like to be one of our congressional captains? And I said, well, sure, why not? I have a really hard problem saying no to things, if you haven't been able to figure out. But again, didn't really know what I was getting myself into, especially since this was a brand new program and we were really just trying to kind of blaze the way anyways. But I got to help lay the groundwork for something that has been rolled out all across the country, with a goal of having a singular captain in every single congressional district across America. And it's so I guess the long story short is, the way to get involved and how you go about this is just, if you hear somebody saying that they need help with something, even if you're not really sure what it is, ask that question and say, hey, I don't really know if this is something that I'd be good at, but I'd like to learn more, or I'd like to help. And, like Laurent said, at least begin that conversation. And maybe you're not right for that particular thing that they were looking for, but if you ask the question and you open that door, you can find your place, even if it's not that specific thing they were looking for. So I'll shut up now and let someone else talk.
I love how your instinct is just to say yes, because I feel like for the longest time, my chapter wanted me to be co-chair and I kept saying no. I was like, no, I don't have the time, don't have the capacity. Because I've always kind of been an overachiever and like multifaceted and done like a bajillion things all the time. So high school and college were really intense for me. And then when I actually worked at Paramount Studios after college in like a corporate role, and was also teaching spin classes, and then had started volunteering. I was doing all of these things. But when I quit my job to pursue freelance, I was really afraid of overextending myself. I was like, I need to be focused on, making a certain amount, finding work, paying my bills, very adult things that you don't have to worry about quite yet. But at that time, I really didn't have the capacity. I didn't think I had the capacity to do a lot, but I wanted to stay involved and I wanted to advocate for the foundation, but also not do it in a way that was kind of like half in, half out. So what I found is that, be honest with where you're at. Be honest with it, what you volunteering with social media. So I ran the Tomorrow's Leaders Instagram page and Facebook pages. I would make graphics, I would do posts, I would do tags. And that I did for a year. And that was really comfortable for me. I felt great doing it. I felt like I was contributing, but not overextending. And after that first year, every year I kind of like would reassess and be like, okay, what's my schedule like now? What are some other things I want to try? Is there someone else who's new that I can like pass this on to? And so I think it really helped me to kind of be okay with not jumping in and doing everything at the beginning, but kind of letting it gradually build. And then this past, I think it's been a year and a half now since I've been a co-chair. And what that means is now I'm, running the meetings and really helping kind of like facilitate and plan for the year, and encouraging other members to, build fundraisers or help them get things together to make it happen. And it's been great. Now I'm in a place where I'm more stable in my career, where I can really offer that extra time and that space for it. So for me, it kind of was like, be honest with where I'm at, figure out what I can actually commit to, and then, grow it over time. Or you can always do 6 months of one thing, 6 months of another thing. I think be flexible. As long as you're involved in helping out, like that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for answering. I think you both hit a really important point of just start small. I remember the first thing I ever did to get involved with the foundation was a Jeans for Jeans day at my school that raised maybe like $300, but that's what started me on this journey of volunteering. And I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't done that. So that's all the questions we have. So we're going to get started with the Q&As from the audience. So I just want to thank you panelists for sharing your stories and your various levels of involvement. We know every volunteer story is unique, and it was great to hear all the ways you're all engaging with the organization. So the first question that was submitted is, what are some aspects of your individual careers that you've taken and used while volunteering with the foundation? So whoever wants to jump in.
Head scratcher, Frankie. We got him with a tough question, I feel like. I don't think I can answer this one though. I work for the foundation, so I'll have to defer to.
I can take a stab at it. So like I said, I'm a consultant by trade, mainly focused on project management. And so by nature, and even just in like my personal life, I'm very type A and organized. And so that has actually come in very handy with some of the, Guys and Dolls events and planning. And, I basically supported a team of, up to 10 people while we're fundraising. And so being able to kind of keep tabs on, okay, this is what this person needs help with. Here, let me help connect them with this person over here. So it's, being able to kind of pull from those skills and use them to support the event that I was working on, I would say is, I guess, an example of that. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what I thought of.
I think that was a great answer. I definitely don't have anything close to a career yet, but I know just as a student, my work on a computer and my computer skills have always really been helpful in anything I've done with the foundation. So you can really use any of your skills, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. The next question for Brittany, again.
Oh, okay.
What was your starting point for getting involved in congressional advocacy?
So that is something that I was asked to do by my current, or he's no longer our advocacy chair, but he was our advocacy chair at the time. And like I said, that program, the Congressional Captains Program, was something that they were piloting in our state because, they had this big lofty goal of getting a congressional captain in every single district, but they wanted to try it out kind of small first before they open the floodgates and, try to get all of these hundreds of people. They wanted to figure out what they were doing first. And so, like I said, I had the opportunity to help kind of lay that groundwork, but now it's, if there's an opening in your district or in an area where your chapter is, it's as easy as, again, asking that question, say, hey, I'm involved in doing this. I want to learn more. I don't know if every single state has like a state advocacy day, but I would say that's a really good way to kind of get your feet wet with advocacy, especially if you're looking to do more of like the having meetings with elected officials type of advocacy. There is another facet of the way that the foundation does advocacy that literally just involves, responding to a text message or sending an email. They have a really great program where, you can sign up for those advocacy alerts. If there's something that we're wanting to get in front of Congress, let's say, you'll get an automated text message that says, hey, we need your help with X, Y, and Z. And you click a link, it's got your address all in there. It knows who your people are. And you literally just hit send and it sends them an email that gets recorded, with the stance from the foundation, or what information we're trying to get in front of them. So, that's a way to advocate as well. It doesn't have to be, traveling to Washington, D.C. every year to do, to do March on the Hill. It absolutely can be. And, we definitely need people who are passionate about that to show up and have those meetings. It's such a fun day, but it's also a really impactful way to get our needs and our message to our members of Congress. But it doesn't have to be that big. And, but again, start small. If there's a way that you can maybe talk to your advocacy chair, I would say reach out to your local chapter's advocacy chair. They will absolutely be thrilled to talk to you about all things advocacy, and maybe give you, like we've kind of touched on a few times tonight, maybe give you a small way to start getting involved and get that experience and see if it's something you're really passionate about. And then you can just continue to grow from there.
Thank you. I loved
You're
your
welcome.
answer. I also
Okay.
love advocacy, so that answer made me really happy.
It's so much fun.
This next question is for Mikki. It says, Tomorrow's Leaders is really focused on networking. What are some tips you have for someone who's nervous to go to a new event and not know anyone?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would recommend having a few questions in your back pocket that are kind of like starter questions and things, I mean, depending on where you are, but asking people, just showing an interest in other people, because A, you don't have to talk as much, you get to listen. And B, people really are drawn to people who are like interested in them, right? So I would come up with a list of questions that you can ask people about where they grew up, where are they from, questions about their job that are really specific. I think if you kind of go in with an open mind of like, you're there to have a good time and to learn, I think it takes the pressure off of you. You're not, I would say, like, don't think of it as like, oh, you have to like impress people. I think, no, like you're there to learn about other people. I think that's what helps me with networking, is it's a chance to get to know someone. And then also, if you're really trying to make like a professional connection with someone, I think it's always nice to offer a service to them, offer to treat them to coffee, offer to, if they need any help doing X, Y, and Z, volunteer like a day with them. I think anytime that people, if you have an ask, like also offer up something in return. So then that way, like it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So I would go in with some questions that you already have kind of like pre-planned to ask, and then also some things that you're ready to offer on the spot for people if they want to stay connected. Yeah, I hope that's helpful, but also breathe. And it's okay to walk outside for 10 minutes. I do that all the time. Like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. It's like regroup and then go back in. And we're all people, most people are also thinking about themselves. They're not as focused on like what, how you come across or whatever. So know that everyone is kind of a little nervous too, and it gets better with practice.
Frank, can I add to Mikki's amazing answer?
Yes, please.
So as I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a fundraiser. So most people would assume that means I'm a natural networker, and is not true. Networking, as you said, Mikki, is not easy. And I would say it takes practice, right? It's the first time you do it, you might only talk to one person, and that's okay. But if you talk to one person, then you've done all right. And you can look for that person who also looks nervous, who also is standing off to the side and sort of not sure who to talk to. They want someone to talk to, and that's the person you can go up and start with. And maybe you and that person are like, okay, maybe it's a little easier with the two of us. Let's go find someone else, or go with an experienced networker, right? If you're working somewhere and somebody who just is known as a good networker, ask if you can tag along, see what they do. In most cases, for most really strong networkers, the way they do it is by walking up to a group of people and saying hello, and then sort of getting to that conversation. And it's challenging and it's hard to do, but once you start to do it, it does get easier, and you get, you sort of, and I think the only thing I would say is that when you're at a networking specific event, everybody's there to network. So they want you to come talk to them. They want you to jump into their conversation, and, you can do it. If you want to do it, you can do it.
Thank you guys. I know that's going to be really helpful for people starting at like big universities in the fall. I know I would have loved to hear that last year. Okay, so the next question we have is more of just a general question. What is something surprising or unexpected that you gained from your volunteer work?
I'll hop in. I think what's really cool about volunteering with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is you do see like the practical progress. And it's just really, amazing that the work that you are doing is helping people with CF, it is helping their families, it is helping their quality of life. And I think oftentimes, when we think of like nonprofits or volunteering, like it's kind of hard to see the end, but I think what's been really cool is over the years that I've been involved, it's like every year there are like these incredible breakthroughs. Every year you hear amazing stories of people starting families who never thought that they were going to start families, or having like mental health kind of groups starting for teenagers and young adults that didn't exist because, people with CF weren't even like living to that age where they really had to deal with those type of issues. So I think it's really cool to see every year that the foundation is growing and helping support as a CF community continues to grow. And it's been really fulfilling to have the progress just be so clearly kind of shown and explained. And it feels nice that you really are part of something that is making a real difference. So it's encouraging for sure. Definitely encouraging.
Mikki, I love that you brought that up, because one of my absolute favorite parts of going to VLC every year, the Volunteer Leadership Conference, is they literally have a session that's focused on the science and all the progress that has been made even from the previous year. And seeing they shared something this last year that was like, oh, number of pregnancies, because they're people with CF were experience fertility issues, and number of people reaching all these different milestones, even things like number of double lung transplants going down dramatically, and being able to really see that, and like you said, the actual tangible results of what we've been a part of is so rewarding. But outside of that, I on a more kind of like personal, or I don't know if it's selfish to call this, but most of my best friends that I have in Charlotte, I met through volunteering with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. There is something just so unique. And I don't know if other, foundations or nonprofits, have this same sort of connection, or their volunteers do, but I feel like there's something so unique about our volunteer community that we just connect to each other so well. And somebody asked earlier, okay, well, what do you do if you don't know someone? You have a connection with them already. If you're going into a CFF event, you have that connection with them by virtue of being at the event. You're there to support the cause, and so you can connect on that. Oh, what's your story? What's your connection? Talk about yours. I've met people, again, not only in my community, but volunteers all across the country, even by doing stuff like this, talking on panels. And it's just always just so fun to stay in touch with those people, and really connect and build those relationships with them, on top of like you mentioned, Mikki, just the great work and really seeing the tangible results. So you can absolutely find your community, your tribe, whatever you call them. You can find your people by getting involved with the CF Foundation. Absolutely.
I love that. The next question, it's an easy one. What is your favorite CF Foundation event?
I can't answer that one. That's that I easy one, Frankie. I would say that one is impossible for me. So I'm gonna pass this one to Brittany.
That one is a toughie, because there's so many good ones. All right, I'll do one local and one national. So obviously national, I've talked about it a ton, is Volunteer Leadership Conference. It's just such an energizing weekend, again, you get to meet, other really, really dedicated volunteers from all across the country. It's fun, and, you literally leave that weekend feeling like you're on a high, and, it just really re-energizes you, and you get home from that weekend and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do all these things with my chapter. Oh, I met this person and they had a really great idea for fundraising or an event, or just there's really no like adequate words to describe it. It is just fantastic. It's such a great weekend. And then locally, I would say, obviously I'm probably biased because I worked on it for so long, but Guys and Dolls, again, we call it kind of like adult prom because it's a black tie optional gala. It's at, a big hotel uptown, and, everyone gets all dressed up in, fancy dresses and suits and ties. And, it's rare as an adult to have those opportunities to get super dressed up, unless maybe you're Mickey and going to like a movie premiere or something. Um, but it's just really fun to, get all dolled up and, go spend time with friends and family and, other folks in the area, other like-minded professional, and, just really have a good time with, dinner, dancing, and then of course fundraising for a really great cause. So those are my two.
I don't know
I'm
if
gonna
anyone
go-
else. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go the local answer is our Get Salty comedy show. It's such a blast. It's just like a night of fun. We usually have 5 to 8 stand-up comics, drinks, food. We even did a live stream for a couple of years when we were in lockdown. So it stood tall doing that too. It was great. And it's just a really fun night out. Yeah, it's a great time to laugh, and there's also an auction part of it, which is awesome because we have like a comedian MC who just like makes jokes and kind of like, messes with the crowd a bit, and it becomes like a really fun kind of like bidding war, if you will. And we raise a lot of money doing it. So yeah, definitely Get Salty.
That seems to be all the time we have for questions. So I just want to take a moment to thank all of our speakers and thank everyone in general for just attending tonight. We appreciate your interest, and we hope that you leave feeling inspired and motivated about the conversations we shared today. The next portion of the event is networking, where we can continue the discussion on how to get involved and discuss people's current involvement. That'll start in a few minutes. But if you can't stay, thank you again for coming, and I'll see you at our final session on Thursday, August 17th from 7 to 8 p.m., Building Your Career Toolbox. And you can also join the conversation on our Slack channel. So I'll give everyone a few minutes to take a break, maybe turn off your cameras if you want before we get started again. We should start back up in a few minutes. Thank you again to all of our panelists and for everyone for being here.